Let's go with an analysis that I think is going to shake up more than one person. And it's because this song has recently gone viral again. It's in every video on social media. And it's used with a focus on something beautiful, spiritual, like growth, even mystical. I'm not really sure how to express it, but I think a lot of people believe that youth, Papa, youth, is some kind of tribal chant, youth.
Papaoutai, Papaoutai.
But in French, what it means is, Dad, where are you? And the lyrics actually are pretty harsh. It talks about the absence of a father, abandonment, neglect, the grief over the father. And I have to confess that when the original version came out in 2013, I was a teenager. That version is more upbeat, more dance, more suitable for clubs. Youth, youth, youth. They played it everywhere, and every time I heard it, I felt uneasy. That song was a total trigger for me, and that's it. As I mentioned, this more spiritual version has gone viral again. But let's analyze the lyrics and also the music video, because I assure you it's full of symbolism and psychological content. Let's get to it. Let's start by simply analyzing the title, Papa Youth. It's a phonetic play, Papa Youth, Papa, where are you? Which already tells us what the song is about, but it also tells us that the song, the lyrics, are narrated from the child's perspective. And in the end, the song is about that need to locate the father, to understand his absence, to deal with it, to give it an explanation. Anyone who has had an abandoning, absent or negligent father or mother will know very well that feeling of anguish, of confusion, of emptiness, of not understanding how. The person who should love you the most, take care of you, the one who should most want to be by your side, is precisely the one who is farthest away, who abandons you the most, and even the one who hurts you the most. Some interviews suggest that the singer Stromae may be drawing inspiration from his own story, since his father was rarely present and died in Rwanda. Do you already know what happened there? But the lyrics cover the absence of parents in a broader sense, since each case of a father's absence can be caused by different reasons and contexts. But whatever the cause and whatever the context, it's something that will always hurt and will always have an impact. Let's get started. Stromae portrays the father as a mannequin, a rigid and inaccessible figure, lifeless. There is a father, but at the same time there isn't. This can serve to represent both a present father who lives with you, who is at home, but who is emotionally unavailable, who doesn't fulfill his role. That father as furniture figure, who is on the couch, motionless. It's not that the father doesn't exist. He exists as an object. He's present, but he doesn't fulfill that attachment role. This is common. I have a father, but not really, which causes a lot of psychological confusion for the child. But here we're not just talking about fathers who are at home physically, but are emotionally absent. We're also talking about those who have abandoned their child, those who aren't present in any way. And even if that father isn't at home, his absence still has an impact. They occupy much of the child's life and mind. The child thinks about him, imagines him, longs for him, and fantasizes about change. An absent father, no matter the reason, is a figure who isn't there, but at the same time is very present in the child's psyche. The child plays with the ball, eats with him, behaves well, even dresses just like him, doesn't complain, doesn't get angry, lives a normal life. And when we are little, we are wired to idealize, to admire, to seek out our parents. Being close to them is almost synonymous with survival. So it's normal and adaptive for the child not to see their father's reality and to do everything possible to attract and keep him. And then the song begins. It says,
Dites-moi d'où il vient, enfin je saurai où je vais.
Tell me where it comes from, and finally I'll know where I'm going. This explains why our parents are the way they are and why our relationship and story with them have been this way. It goes far beyond just feeling good or bad. It actually builds our identity. Understanding our parents, understanding the relationship, is a psychological need. Our mind needs to make sense of things, to find logic in what happens, and that impacts how we see ourselves, how we see others, and how we relate to them. And of course, idealizing parental figures who are absent for survival reasons comes at a price. It has a cost. If a father is supposed to love his child more than anything, but if my father doesn't love me and my father is good, then I conclude that something must be wrong with me. I don't see his flaws or mistakes. I can't imagine my father being bad. Therefore, I must be the bad one. I must be the defective one. And if I change, change, if I get better, then maybe he will love me. We can imagine that we can. The impact that this reading, that this personal story can have on self-esteem, on identity, on the way we see ourselves, the way we see the world. Now, she briefly talks to us about the mother.
She says, Mom says that when we look hard enough, we always end up finding.
Mom says if you look hard enough, you'll find.
She says that he will go to très loin, qu'il part très souvent travailler.
She says that he's never too far away, that he's going to end.
Y travailler c'est bien, bien mieux qu'être mal accompagné.
She says working is better than being in bad company, right? Here, we don't talk about the role of that mother in the scenario of absent or negligent fatherhood, and what the mother expresses are attempts to provide relief in the short term. She tries to close uncertainty with a promise to reduce the anxiety, but of course, she keeps the search going indefinitely. If you look for him, you'll find him. He's not that far away. He has to work. It's okay. Everything will be fine. Many families, in this case mothers, offer a false story to their children to try to relieve them in the short term, to avoid conflicts, to prevent them from falling apart. They actually prevent the child, under the guise of abandonment, from validating their pain and grieving. That child then learns to keep their emotions quiet so as not to break with the narrative they've been given. And their pain then can't be symbolized, can't be expressed, nor can it be processed. Then a child will speak, and in these situations we move to a scene in the garden. The child persists, keeps throwing the ball, tries to get his father to join the scene in a normal way, but the mannequin falls and the child expresses frustration. In the end, even though rationally, consciously, you can't identify your father's reality, that doesn't stop you from perceiving and feeling the emotions, the anxiety, the emptiness, the pain, the frustration. And that's why many children later on, maybe at school, are aggressive, very impulsive, have illnesses, develop disorders, phobias. That emotion ends up coming out in another way. The song here says, "Where is your dad? Tell me, where is your dad?"
Où est ton papa? Dis-moi où est ton papa?
Without talking to him, does he know what's wrong?
Sans même devoir lui parler, il sait ce qui ne va pas.
We see there that defense, that idealization. My father isn't here, but still, he thinks about me, he knows how I am, he takes care of me, he worries about me. It's a defense mechanism to maintain that internal sense of security. But of course, it also leaves a painful and ambivalent question. If he knows I'm not well and he worries about it, then why isn't he here? The father doesn't interact with the child, but instead we see that he does turn on the hose so the child can wash the car. This is very telling. Those people aren't emotionally present, but they do provide the basics, the material things, and they even keep up appearances for others. So that others, in this case the neighborhood, see that he's a good father, that he does his duty. The mannequin, even though it has no life, always keeps a smiling expression, as if everything is fine, as if everything is perfect. And this clearly contributes to confusion, to invalidation. That father conveys that everything is fine, that he does things right. So if everything is fine and he does things right, if I feel bad again, something must be wrong with me. How many times do children hear, "What you feel isn't real, I've been a good father"? Another interesting element is the house, the clothes, the neighborhood. Everything looks perfect, idyllic, proper. And I think this precisely reflects that invalidation. I have a house, I have food, I live in a good place, my father even lives with me, he does things, he smiles. I don't understand my suffering or why it happens. I judge and criticize myself, and others do too. As I told you before, when I was little, when
Iba a casa de mis amigas a comer.
I saw that they had a father, that he lived with them, that somehow for me, since I was obviously still little, I had an immature mind. That for me was a synonym that everything was fine. It made me partly assume that then there couldn't be any problems, that everything was perfect, because in that house there was a father. I still didn't have the mental maturity to understand that an apparently structured, complete family with a father at home doesn't guarantee anything, and that sometimes it's even better if some fathers have left. Many people come to therapy, and when they talk about their childhood, about their family, they say, "No, I have a normal family with my father, my mother, everything normal." But then you start to explore the family dynamics, how they interacted, what was happening, and you go a little deeper. And what apparently seems right, deep down is hurtful. And here we have something interesting. Neighbors pass by, greet, smile, try to please and entertain the child, bring him a newspaper, and finally the child smiles. It comforts him to feel seen and recognized by others, to be cared for in some way. But of course, it doesn't replace at all the lack of affection from his father. In these cases, it's common for people around to want to take care of that child, to try to make up for the father's absence, of course, if this is done consistently and over time, not just paying attention for a while and then leaving. This support greatly eases the psychological impact when, in a session, we have a patient who says they didn't have a father or didn't have a mother. We also explore whether there might have been other figures who acted as psychological crutches, a grandfather, an aunt, siblings, neighbors, or even sometimes a teacher. Obviously, this doesn't cancel out, replace, or erase that mark or that pain. But the outcome is different from when that child has been completely helpless and alone, and it helps a lot. That script that can be built of "I am the problem, I don't deserve to be loved here." The song says, "Blessed Dad, where are you hiding?
Sacré papa, dis-moi où es-tu caché?
I must have counted my fingers 1,000 times."
Dois faire au moins 1000 fois que j'ai compté mes doigts.
Reference again to that idealization that doesn't match reality. From "Blessed Dad, I love you, you're good, but why aren't you with me?" and about the fingers. I understand it as a compulsive act, as a way to self-regulate through the repetition of physical actions. When children suffer from a lot of anxiety, distress, it's common for them to perform rituals, control behaviors, bodily manipulation, to bring that emotion into their bodies. Eating anxiously, biting themselves, tics, getting sick, fighting. On one hand, as an escape route for those repressed and misunderstood emotions, and on the other hand, as a way to have a little bit of control over a world they can't control. And the song repeats that phrase over and over again. Where are you, Dad? Where are you? Ute. Dad, you... It repeats in a loop, just like that anguish, that pain, that not understanding, that recurring theme repeats. And nothing can be done, so that nothing can be done, so that I can't do anything, so that nothing can be done. It can be absence. I look for the father, I receive frustration. The absence increases, the search increases, and the frustration increases, constantly making attempts to reach that love that never comes. And here there's an interesting change. We go into the living room and we see the anger in the boy. It looks like he's giving a speech to his father. He's reproaching him. But from the content of the messages, it seems like it's more than just the boy talking. That adult part that has already matured, that has already understood the situation, that has reflected, and that in some way would like to be able to transmit those messages to her child self. Believe it or not, someday we will stop believing. That is, there will come a point when I will stop chasing you, stop looking for you, stop idealizing you, stop expecting something from you. Those who have broken off their relationship with their mother or father know how hard and difficult it is to go through that whole process and reach that point. In front of those outsiders who watch, judge, and invalidate. With phrases like, "How can you stop talking to your mother? There's only one father." Believe me, no one wants to give up their father or mother. It's not a whim, it's not a preference. If a person has come to that very difficult decision, one that takes so much time, it's because they have no other choice.
He says,
Also, sooner or later, we will all be parents, and one day we will disappear.
détestable, serons-nous admirables?
We will be detestable or we will be admirable.
Des géniteurs ou des génies?
Are we just simple parents or true geniuses in the sense of being good parents?
He says, afterwards, and we will disappear, we will disappear.
Where do the irresponsible come from? Everyone knows how to make babies, but not parents. I really like this more mature, thoughtful part of today. The problem isn't that something failed in me. It's not that I was an insufficient child. The problem is that having a child doesn't make you a father or a mother. In the sense that being a parent isn't just about bringing a child into the world. That's not enough. It's about doing everything possible to become a place of safety, love, and growth for them. But it also talks about that anxiety that usually appears later, when you've already realized, okay, I've seen that it's not that I didn't deserve love, but that I had a negligent father or mother. But of course, what if I, without meaning to, do the same thing to my future children? What if I cause the same suffering that was caused to me? No one thinks they're going to be a bad father or a bad mother. So how does this happen? Parentheses therapy. Night falls. The child looks out the window, observes the world, observes the outside, and this is something that children often do. In this situation, they look at other families, at other parents interacting with their children, searching, in a way, for answers. What is normal? What are other families like? What are other parents like? What have those children done for themselves? to be loved. And then our protagonist watches a father and his son dancing happily, smoothly, with coordination, smiling. It looks like they just went out to take out the trash. If we get a little speculative here, we could interpret that the trash represents generational trauma, that it no longer stays in the house and they throw it out so it doesn't get passed on. However, he also sees a father, dressed in a suit, very charismatic, presentable, attractive on the outside, who forces his son to dance with violence. With aggressive movements, very pronounced, almost mechanical, imposed movements, that dance is the language of what is left unsaid. It reflects what the relationship is like even if we still don't have the ability to identify it, to describe it, to put it into words, to name it. We often feel or sense something but don't
podemos identificarlo, no sabemos cómo.
Name it, so it remains more unconscious than conscious. We have all had experiences that we have felt, we have perceived, but until a good amount of time passes, we are not able to understand them, to name them, to verbalize them, and therefore to integrate them. You can see on the child's face that he is afraid, but he ends up dancing like his father because he makes him do it. That violent, aggressive father, and that son who ends up also becoming someone violent, aggressive, ends up being what he feared and hated, what he suffered from, exactly the anguish that the singer was expressing.
We will be detestable.
Will we be detestable? Will we be admirable? Will we be simple managers? Or will we be geniuses? But notice that our little protagonist observes all of this smiling. He doesn't get alarmed or scared by the aggressive parent. He looks with the same face of excitement, of longing, of a smile at that pair of father and son who dance together, coordinated, smiling, comfortable, as he does when he looks at the father attacking the son. For him, both scenarios are desirable. It's what he fantasizes about. He wants attention, recognition, presence. It doesn't matter what kind. Whether it's love or aggression, it's going to be better than indifference and abandonment. Would he prefer a father who attacks his son over a father who isn't there and has no interest at all? I'm not suggesting an abusive father is better than an absent or abandoning one. My point is that, psychologically and in terms of bonding, what the child wants above all is to be seen by their father. They want to be relevant to him, they want to have a place in his mind, they want to know that they have an impact on him, that he responds to them. In those terms, receiving aggression is at least receiving something. It's at least that I matter to him. At least I provoke some emotion in him. I exist for him. He looks at me. He responds to me. He touches me on a psychic level. I read in a pathological way that I have relevance for my father. In fact, what we unfortunately see in many cases is that when there is a father whose only response and attention is aggression, we can see children who try to provoke precisely that aggression, because it's the only way to relate to their father and to get something from him. The child then goes back to bed and looks at his father thinking, what is wrong with me? What do I have to change so that he loves me, so that he pays attention to me, so that he looks at me? In this way, the next day, the search and the call for attention begin. He does what many children do in his place, tries different strategies to get a reaction from his father, desperately searching for the key to press to receive what he longs for so much. She starts dancing in front of him, moving in an exaggerated way, smiling, acting. She tries out different roles. We see that the child is trying to play a role that his father will like. He is giving up being himself because he has assumed that his father will not love him as he is. Let's remember that childhood self-blame of attributing to oneself the cause of the father's absence and rejection. If I become someone better, then he will love me. Unfortunately, we can see a split second of a smile on the mannequin. The father reacts, gives him a minimum of attention. Though it may seem positive, this is dangerous. Intermittent reinforcement creates strong attachment. If someone I care about ignores me, but on one occasion pays attention to me, my whole mind is going to focus, obsessively and anxiously, on understanding what I did right that time, so that I stay alert, completely focused on trying everything to see what works. Parents who reinforce intermittently. One day I pay attention to you, another I ignore you. One day I say I love you, another I call you the worst thing that's happened to me. Well, it builds a relational model of confusion in the child. I don't have a solid internal script of stability and predictability of I understand my actions, how they affect my relationships. I can connect with others securely. I understand what's right and what's wrong. Instead, they are left with the feeling that relationships can break at any moment. People are unpredictable, they can disappear at any time. I'm always controlling, watching, and anxious. Does this sound familiar to you? After this has worked, we see that the child and his father finally dance together again, a somewhat sinister, strange dance, almost like puppets. Not about being yourself, not about going with the flow, but about complying, adapting, seeking, pleasing just once. But soon it is revealed that this dance is a fantasy in the child's mind. The child believes he is dancing with his father, that finally there is love, there is affection, there is a bond, but it turns out he is dancing alone. He is alone in that relationship, in that bond, which is actually a fantasy. That is, he believes that by pleasing his father, by continuing with that role, he will have his love. But there is no real love. And the thing is, many children and many people, adults, get trapped in that maze, that complaint, constantly wanting to earn the love of a father or a mother that never comes. Their mind, their personality, their life are built around pleasing, around winning over that figure, but they never come to feel fulfilled, loved, whole, or much less unconditionally accepted. Additionally, they've created an identity and life that isn't truly theirs. And so we reach the final scene. The child ends up sitting, rigid like the father, and also becomes a mannequin. He has learned that by being himself, he will not be loved. He disconnects from his true self, stops being himself, stops trusting, and sticks to that role because he believes that's how he will be loved. Because of his father, he ends up just like him, as the aggressive father's son did. Identification with the aggressor, with the absent figure, is a very common defense in these cases. I become what hurts me, so it stops hurting, to stop being in the role of victim and suffering. And I think this is one of the harshest consequences shown in the video. The absence of a father not only hurts, but also changes the relational script, the child's affection and identity, probably replicating the same dynamic with their own future child, since a relational model is built and then inevitably generalized to partners, friends, and family. This song and this music video are really powerful. I think I need to do more analyses like this. Of course, I think you won't be the same person when you hear this song somewhere. When you dance to it, you'll feel a little strange. But anyway, let's wrap up this analysis with a series of tips on how we can help and support a child in these situations. First, they need to hear and internalize certain messages. I don't mean you have to say them word for word, but the impression they get should be the same. This is not your fault. This doesn't say anything bad about you. This is an adult problem. Adults sometimes make mistakes, they make bad decisions, and they don't succeed. Bien. Your emotions make sense and deserve to be expressed and deserve to be acknowledged. I am here and I will continue to be here, obviously afterwards, with consistency in my actions. Second, you have to tell the truth, but in a way that is appropriate for their age. We don't lie, we don't give false hope, we don't try to cover it up, nor do we look for short-term relief, because this can cause many psychological problems in the long term. Children need consistency between what they hear and what happens afterward, so they can build their sense of reality in a healthy way. If I am always promising the child that his father will come back and then he doesn't return, that causes a lot of confusion and chaos in his mind. But even if we don't lie, there's no need to give unnecessary details that could cause more pain or confusion. Oh, and third and important, before explaining and giving information, it's always important to acknowledge and validate the emotion. If we go straight to explaining things to the child, they might learn that their emotion is bothersome, unnecessary, or doesn't make sense. And of course, it's very important to validate and talk about the topic. Doing it once is not enough. It's not a wound that heals with just one conversation. Even if the child doesn't say anything, it's a topic that's probably on their mind and in their heart. So it's best to address it often, not to act as if it's already solved or doesn't exist. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed the analysis. I love how Stromae creates that contrast between very danceable music and dark lyrics. And I'm very much in favor of integrating the tough, the dark, the painful into social life, into the everyday, into the ordinary. And, well, I'm looking forward to reading your comments. What do you think? What did you see in this video? How did everything I shared impact you? And as always, I'll see you in the next video.
Ciao.